We begin in the land of Orsera with Ophelia Clement, the adopted daughter of Archbishop Joseph, in the city of Flamesgrace, where she lives with him and his biological daughter, Liana. Liana was originally tasked with claiming Alfric's holy flame and going on a sacred pilgrimage around Orstera to bring its fire to other cathedrals. However, when Joseph falls ill, Liana is distraught, and so Ophelia decides to take the flame herself and go on the pilgrimage in Liana's place. She also meets Matthias, who claims to be there to help with the preparations for the pilgrimage. She passes through Saints Bridge on her way to Goldshore, saving local children from beasts and thwarting bandits who try to take her flame by kidnapping a girl, and she encounters Matthias again. As she prepares her return to Flamesgrace, Liana shows up and tells her that their father has died. Liana proceeds to drug Ophelia, take the flame, and leave for Whispermill alone. Following Liana upon awakening, Ophelia discovers at Whispermill that Matthias has been leading a cult that opposes the teachings of the sacred flame, and he plans to have Liana assist him in a ritual to summon the dark god, Galdera. Liana hopes that by participating in the ritual, she'll be able to resurrect her father. Ophelia eventually manages to remind her of their father's words when they were younger, and that all life must come to an end. Liana comes to her senses, Ophelia defeats Matthias, and the sisters return to Flamesgrace, where they reconcile. Cyrus Albright, a professor in Atlasdam, is teaching his two students, a young girl named Therese and a princess named Mary. He is summoned to Headmaster Yvonne's office, where he learns he's been accused of having illicit relations with Mary. The headmaster's assistant, Lucia, suggests sending Cyrus away on a sabbatical while they investigate, to avoid complications. Cyrus agrees, thinking this would be a great opportunity to look for a tome that's been missing from the archives for years, entitled From the Far Reaches of Hell. In Quarrycrest, he tracks down and defeats a blood mage using townspeople for his experiments, and discovers an abridged and translated copy of the tome. In Stoneguard, the translator informs him he was hired by Yvonne. Lucia appears and lures him into a trap at Yvonne's house, and Yvonne transforms into a blood monster, forcing Cyrus to defeat him. Cyrus learns that Yvonne had been planning on going to Duskbarrow, and so heads there. At Duskbarrow, Cyrus tracks down Lucia again, who is revealed to be the mastermind that manipulated Yvonne into stealing the tome years ago. He follows Lucia in ancient ruins and sees that she has amassed an entire secret library of forbidden knowledge. He also finds information about the Gate of Finis, which was used to bring the dark god Galdera back into the human realm. Cyrus defeats Lucia, retrieves the tome, and returns to Atlasdam to resume studies. Tressa Colzione, a merchant living in the coastal town of Rippletide, encounters Leon Vestrale, a notorious pirate-turned-merchant who teaches her the value of having a true treasure in her life. She receives a journal from him, which is full of adventures written down by the book's unknown original owner, inspiring her to go on her own journey. In Quarrycrest, she meets a fellow merchant, Ali, and the two start a friendly rivalry. Tressa meets Morlock, the cruel overlord of Quarrycrest, who kidnaps Ali, causing her to go after and rescue him. In Victor's Hollow, she meets Leon again, and acquires a map that was once owned by Leon's long-dead friend, leading her to a valuable gem called Eldrite, which Leon tells her to keep. Tressa then goes to Grandport, where the merchant's fair is being hosted by Lord Wyndham, in order to find and purchase a treasure for his daughter, Noah. A woman named Esmeralda steals the journal from Tressa, but with Ali's help, she gets it back. During the fair, she puts the journal itself up for auction, and says she hopes it will help inspire Noah to see the world for herself. Noah tells Wyndham that she wants the journal, and he buys it for her. Tressa meets the diary's creator, Ing, and learns from him that it was owned by an adventurer named Graham Crossford, who traveled around the world and jotted down his findings. Tressa then decides that it's time to go back home. Ulrich Eisenberg's homeland, Hornburg, fell years ago with the death of his king, Alfred, killed by his once friend, now betrayer, the knight, Erhard. In Cobblestone, Ulrich is serving as protector of the small town as a wandering mercenary knight. Bandits attack, he tracks them down, and learns that their leader was acquainted with Erhard. After defeating them, he travels to Victor's Hollow in search of a man named Gustav to learn more. There, he enters a tournament and faces off against Gustav, who afterward reveals that Erhard betrayed Hornburg for revenge, as the king failed to protect Erhard's hometown when he was young and it was raided by bandits. Informing Ulbrich that Erhard can be found at Wellspring, Ulbrich goes there and finds that Erhard now spends his days protecting the town. After reuniting with the knight and helping him fend off hostile lizardmen, Ulbrich sees that Erhard is repentant, and he manages to best him in a duel. Erhard reveals that he was part of a mercenary band under the leadership of a man named Werner, who is the one who plotted the downfall of Hornburg. Ulbrich then travels to Riverford and finds that the whole city is under Werner's control. He teams up with the local resistance to defeat Werner, who reveals that he destroyed Hornburg because he believed the Gate of Finis was located there, and he wanted to see it for himself. Afterwards, Ulbrich returns to Cobblestone. Primrose Azelhart witnessed her father, Geoffrey Azelhart, being assassinated by 3 men marked with a crow symbol when she was younger. Driven by revenge, she became a dancer in Sunshade while biding her time, hoping to learn more about her father's killers. She eventually finds one of the assassins consorting with her boss, Helganish, and tries to follow him. However, Helganish stops her and also kills her only friend, Yusufa. Primrose defeats Helganish and learns that the assassin can be found in Still Snow, where she's reunited with Ariana, who served House Hazelheart before her father's death. She informs Primrose that the assassin runs a brothel nearby, and Primrose infiltrates and kills the assassin before heading to Noblecourt for her next target. In Noblecourt, she meets Simeon, the former gardener's apprentice of House Hazelheart and her childhood sweetheart. She is also reunited with Ravello, another former servant, and together they track down and defeat the second assassin. Simeon appears and stabs her, revealing himself to be the third assassin and the leader of the Obsidian organization. Primrose then travels to Everhold to confront Simeon, where he's put on a macabre play about Primrose's childhood. After killing Simeon, she finally visits her father's grave and admits that she still doesn't have a purpose in life and vows to continue dancing until she finds that purpose. Alphen Greengrass serves as an apothecary in Clearbrook, together with his friend Zeph. Alphen was inspired to become an apothecary himself after being saved from a terrible illness by one when he was young. Alphen decides to become a traveling apothecary and heads to Goldshore, where another apothecary named Vanessa is secretly dosing her medicine with a virus, making the townsfolk sick and selling them the cure at a high price. Alphen defeats her and cures the town himself before venturing to Saintsbridge, where he meets another apothecary named Ogun, who refuses to treat a wounded bandit. Alphen, believing everyone should be treated indiscriminately, saves his life. Ogun reveals that years prior, he saved a refugee who proceeded to kill his wife. The man that Alphen saved later kidnaps a child for ransom. Alphen pursues him, rescues the child, and is left conflicted about his ethics as an apothecary. Alphen encounters Ogun again in Orwell, and they both start treating the sickly people there. Ogun starts showing signs of illness, and Alphen learns that Ogun has been contracting diseases over the years, refusing to treat himself because he wants to die. Alphen recognizes his symptoms as the terrible illness of his youth, prepares the antidote, and saves Ogun, who reveals that he was once saved by the same apothecary years ago, and his name was Graham Crossford. Alphen returns home to Clearbrook. Therion, a thief, learns of a mysterious treasure in the local Ravis Manor that no one can steal, and decides to try for himself. He manages to infiltrate the manor, finding a dragonstone, but is waylaid by a butler named Heathcote. Though he beats Heathcote in battle, the butler manages to slap an irremovable device called a fool's bangle on him, which damages Therion's pride as a thief. Heathcote and Lady Cordelia, the owner of the manor, strike a deal with him: the removal of the bangle for the retrieval of the other 3 dragonstones that have been stolen. Therion heads to Noblecourt, retrieves the second stone from a researcher, and returns it to Heathcote. He then goes to Wellspring and finds the 3rd dragonstone on the black market, but it's stolen by another thief named Darius, his former partner who betrayed him. Therion tracks Darius to Northreach and infiltrates his hideout, where both the 3rd and 4th dragonstones are, and takes them back. When Darius is weakened after their battle, he's betrayed by his own men, who take his amassed treasure. Therion returns the dragonstones to Heathcote and Cordelia, and they remove the bangle as promised. It is revealed that the dragonstones were once instrumental in the ritual to open the Gate of Finis. Honnet, a huntress, watched her teacher and surrogate father, Zonta, leave 1 year ago on a hunt with a woman named Eliza and her soldiers, the Knights Ardant, and has sent back only a single letter since. When his wolf companion, Hagen, comes running back into the village alone, Honnet learns that her master had some trouble dealing with a mysterious beast named Red-Eye, and she sets out to assist him. First going to Stoneguard, she finds Zonta, turned to stone from his encounter with Red-Eye. She then travels to Still Snow, in the hopes of finding a seer who can help her break the curse, and learns that it can only be broken by defeating Red-Eye. Honnet travels to a cave near Still Snow to collect herbs to protect her from the curse, before finally traveling to Marceline, where she meets Eliza and the Knights Ardant, who have cornered Red-Eye in some ruins. She goes into the ruins, confronts Red-Eye, defeats it, and notes that the beast was unlike any she had faced before. She could not sense any emotion from Red-Eye, and when it was slain, its body disintegrated. Killing the beast does free Zonta from the curse, and when they are reunited, she shares the tale of her journey with him. The sorcerer, Odin Crossford, used the dragonstones to seal the Gate of Finis, to prevent Galdera from entering the mortal realm. Beowulf, first king of Hornburg, then passed the stones to his loyal knight, who was the head of House Ravis. LeBlanc, the daughter of Galdera, is revealed to be the mastermind behind all the recent major evil events in the land, in preparation for a ritual to open the gate. She originally stole the dragonstones and attempted to use Graham, descendant of Odin, for the ritual, as it required Crossford blood. Graham created an elixir for his wife's illness, but she died before he could administer it, and so he instead cured Alphen with it. Graham's journal, which he bartered to Leon for passage on his ship to go meet LeBlanc, was targeted for the knowledge within. LeBlanc promised Graham that he would see his wife again if he helped her open the gate, but the ritual cursed him, and he escaped before it completed, eventually transforming into Red Eye and rendering him unusable for it. As such, LeBlanc sought out Graham's son, Kit Crossford, while also plotting to steal the church's holy flame to convert it into a black flame for the ritual, and granted Matthias prolonged life as her servant to accomplish this. Geoffrey was killed because he learned of and attempted to destroy Matthias's obsidian organization. Lucia and Yvonne were used to acquire tomes with knowledge about blood crystals for the ritual. Hornburg was destroyed to gain unrestricted access to the gate, which it is located on top of.